Hello and welcome back to the sixth episode of the Online Trainer Show. Today we've got an awesome guest that is joining us, which is Adam Ali. So how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Nah, it's absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. And like we were saying just before we started, not been following yourself for very long, but I'm very, very interested to ask you a fair few questions, which I think the listeners will take a lot away from today. So yeah, this should be fun. So what have you been up to anyway?
I was just doing some writing in the morning, and yeah, nothing that interesting. My life is very boring, so it's like I have like followers and stuff ask me, "Hey, you should do YouTube videos and shit." I'm just like, if I did that, you'd hate me because I don't do much. It's like my life is insanely boring. I just like write and coach, and that's it.
Life of an online coach.
Right.
Brilliant. So for the listeners that don't know, Adam's built a fantastic brand on long form copy, like writing amazing articles and just being like one of the best fitness writers in the industry, I would say, just like looking at the content and like seeing what other people say. So I want to know, Adam, when it comes to building a brand from long form copy, like you've obviously got these amazing long articles. So how do you know, I guess, when to like pull back as such? Because obviously there's a limit in terms of how much you can write, but how do you know when to sort of pull back on those articles?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I've not actually thought about that, but I think I've subconsciously thought about it because it is, one of those things of like, am I making something needlessly long just for the sake of it being like long form copy? Or is there a reason for me to, go super into depth with the topic? And I think it really just depends on the topic. Some topics may not need that much of a background or, for me to sort of dive that deep into certain things. But then there's other topics that you need to set up the right context for you to, make the point. So to give an example, I wrote an article last year on calories, and the calories count, but it's not as simple as calories in, calories out, and but calories still count. And for a topic like that, it would have been very easy for me to just say, hey, calories count, blah blah.
Yeah.
And but just eat. Don't be an arsehole with your eating, and eat properly, and then blah blah. But it's like, but then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, why don't I actually go right back to help people understand what a calorie actually is, how the definition of a calorie came about, what that actually means. And then with that sort of background, I can then go into my points because it will help me tie the points in a lot better. And for an article like that, that makes total sense. And so I don't think there's any sort of like concrete advice that I could give anyone. It's really just about every article. Are you doing the article justice, and is it a point? Have you made all the points that you want to make, so that the person who's reading the article can take something away or have a better understanding of of that topic or whatever the case is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one obviously thing with regards to the articles, like how consistent do you tend to be with them? So is this something that you would do every week, or is it like you put out 2 to 3 pieces of like pure quality articles each month?
Because,
yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in there, but it's a topic that I've actually had numerous debates with other people online and stuff over the years, and this is also around the time, I think back like 2 years ago, when everyone was like, yo, you have to email your email list every day. You have to be in their face every single day, 3 times a day, whatever the case was. And I was just like, I'm not doing that. It's just firstly, just from a consumer perspective, I would just get totally pissed off if someone was emailing me every day. And then from someone who actually creates the content, it's like, what could you, there's like a limit to how much content you can actually produce, and good quality content, not, quantity. And it's like, if you're emailing your list every single day and at the same time you're trying to make the emails beneficial so the person reading it can either, take something away, make them laugh, they find it entertaining, they get some information out of it, whatever the case is, you need to spend some time just thinking about what it is that you're going to write about. So if you're just constantly emailing every single day, what ends up happening is that you just end up writing just shit. It's like, I followed a lot of fitness people who were doing this back in the day, and it was just like the most stupid stuff. They take the most like some random thing they saw on TV which had no bearing to the topic, and then just try like, and it was so forced, it was almost like cringeworthy. And as a content creator, like I knew what they were doing, and it was even more, it was worse for me. And this is why I feel like a lot of people, and I think this stems from the whole like marketing thing, like the not so much fitness in general, but just in general like marketing, where the marketing gurus back in the day were like, you have to email your list all the time, you have to be in their face. And I just feel like it wasn't, for me personally, just from like both a consumer perspective and someone who actually creates the content, it just wasn't feasible. And it also just was very frustrating, because at the end of the day, it's not so much about being in someone's face. It's more about the fact that is someone looking forward to opening an email from you?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And even if that means you email them, say, once a week or once every other week, if that person is super looking forward to your emails, they will open your email the minute it drops in your inbox. So to give you an example of that, one of my favorite bloggers and writers who's had a massive influence on my own content creation is Tim Urban of Wait But Why. And that guy writes insanely long form content, but he doesn't, he only emails you when he releases a new blog post, which is like once every 4, 5, 6 months. So the other day he hadn't produced any new content for I think close to a year.
Yeah.
And so I haven't heard from him in over a year, but I think a few weeks back he dropped a new article, and he wrote, he sent an email out, and the minute I saw the little notification of Wait But Why, it was a sick email down on my Gmail, but that was the first email I opened because I'm such a big fan of the content, and I know the fact that the content is going to be super high quality, and it was really good reading. It was entertaining, it was informational. I don't know if that's a word, but fuck it. It was informative. That's a word. Informative. It was entertaining, and that's what I mean. So it's like you don't have to. This whole thing of like quantity. Where we've reached this point now where everyone's just producing content for the sake of producing content, and unfortunately, as a byproduct of that, what's happening is a lot of the content we're seeing now is just shit because there's not. You can only produce so much content on a day-to-day basis, or I don't mean produce content, but I mean more so publish content. Like you need to take some time to really think about what you're going to create, how it's going to help your reader, and if it's even a topic that's worth writing about. So these are some things that I think you need to take into consideration. And now I feel like I've gone on a massive tangent, and I've totally forgotten what the question was.
That was brilliant, because like I've got some questions about Instagram and Facebook later, and I think there'll be different answers relating to that. But no, that was superb, because I think with email, it's difficult to be sending it daily and to really engage people. Like you're saying, I think you think of it like this: people wouldn't want to go and like see the Avengers every month, would they? Like waiting for a new Avengers film every month. Like they wait for years, and then the excitement of when it comes out. Like you want to be excited when you see that person's name in your inbox, because it's going to be class. Yeah, 100%.
100%. And this is one as a conversation I was having with a few friends actually, and it's like and so I'm a massive rap fan, and if you see some of the greats, and in terms of the people that I would consider some of the best artists and lyricists out right now, they don't drop albums every like few months. So for example, like Kendrick Lamar, for example, or J. Cole, like J. Cole drops an album every other year or every 2 years, but then when he drops an album, it's just going to be just straight fire, right? And that's the thing. It's like he dropped KOD recently, and it was just like a #1 best-selling album. I think he had the highest streams ever on Spotify or Apple or something. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like if these guys were just dropping albums all the time, eventually the content is just you're just gonna be, I'm not really feeling this album anymore. And this is what happened to another one of my favorite rap stars, Drake. Like Drake he's awesome, he's really good, but what's happened is because he's always producing, his content, the quality just isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And this is just a personal opinion, and people may disagree with me, but I mean, like, he drops an album, and then it's like 6 months later he'll drop another album, and then another album and another album. It's like, yo, you take some time away, like go away for a little while and just grow as a person, think about what you need to write, have some experience and shit, and then come back and write. And I love you, but I don't want to be hearing your stuff all the time. And it's like, if you hear some of his content now, even when he's doing features, it's just shit. It's like, dude, the fuck.
Just rushed content.
Yeah, and it's disappointing, because if you're a fan of someone's work, and I think it's especially when you create content and there's an expectation that tends to become associated with your content, you need to take some time and make sure that any content that you produce in the future is worth your audience's time and attention.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I think a lot of listeners will probably resonate a lot with that, because something that I've tried doing in the past, especially, is posting like 3 times a day on Instagram, 3 times a day on social media, and it's just like, I guess you get to that point where you can only talk about calories in so many different ways before people get bored of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I know people who will post content, on Instagram or Facebook, wherever the case is, like 2-3 times a day, even like once a day. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it's like, you're just saying the same thing in just a different way. And it's like, just take some time and just, again, just go away for a little while, think about what you want to create, and then come back and start posting. And that's just some of the issues that I have with this mentality of like constantly post and, always be producing and whatever the case is. And I mean, I was so anti that back in the day, and I feel like the industry is starting to understand that now. Whereas why you're seeing a lot of people now, some of the big names in the industry as well, who sort of really encouraged that in the past, are like, I'm only sending emails like once, twice a week now, because it's just better for myself and it's just better for the audience as well. I'm like, yeah, I told you, motherfuckers, like 2 years ago.
It comes back to that the age-old saying of quality over quantity.
Dude, that's like one of my guiding principles in everything like I create, from like the client documentation that I create for my clients, and like content that I produce online, or anything I do. I'm a firm believer in quality over quantity, like always.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, that was good. I think the listeners will definitely sort of enjoy that little segment, because it does stand true. And I think we can all get caught up trying to create loads and loads and loads, just expecting everyone to like sort of get traction from what we post, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. So yeah, that's good. I mean, one thing I would want to ask, like, what really changed the writing game for you? Would you say there was like a clinical article or a clinical time within of building up Physiconomics which really changed like your writing as such?
Yeah, I mean, so it's actually interesting, and when I say this, people are probably going to be like, oh, what the fuck? But I remember the first article I actually wrote went viral, and this was like back in late 2015 to early 2016. It wasn't even on my website. Physiconomics hadn't created the website then, but I wrote an article on Medium, which is like, that publishing site, sort of back in the day. And it was my first viral article in terms of like the amount of shares it's had. I haven't seen it recently, but I know back in the day the last time I checked, it had over like 100,000 shares or something.
Wow.
But that wasn't on my website. So I had no email opt-in. I had nothing. It was just like I produced it and I wrote it. But even looking back at the article now, I'm like, oh man, this is just terrible. But again, luckily it was just one of those things where a lot of the elements that you see in my articles today, it had the elements there, but it was very like rough and very, it just needed a bit more polish.
Yeah.
The article that I think really sort of quote unquote put me on the map, and I wouldn't say it was just one article, because there were like several that, so it sort of led up to that. So the first article was you're not losing fat because you're eating too damn much, which I published, I think, in 2016.
Yeah.
That went sort of fairly viral. That had like, I think, 16,000 shares back then. I'm not sure how many it's had now. And then in 2017, I went through a bit of a weird like creative block thing from January until sort of March, April, and then May I published the 8 reasons you're not losing fat in a calorie deficit, and that went super viral. I know the SciBabe and some other big names in the industry shared it, and I think that currently it's had like 25,000 shares. And then I've had a few other articles that were like had quite a few shares as well. But then I wrote the best fat loss article on the motherfucking internet, which just went freaking crazy, and it just ended up in all sorts of places, like random places I wouldn't expect it to be. But I'd say that from like more like a mainstream perspective, the best fat loss article is definitely the one that quote unquote changed the game for me.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, like, I've got a question on that one later as well. And I mean, like, in terms of the articles itself and when they take off, how does that help with obviously building your client base? Do you just get tons and tons of applications coming in?
Yeah, so to give you an example, when that fat loss article went super viral, that month I had about 300 coaching applications.
Wow, wow,
Yeah,
that is insane.
obviously not all of them signed up, obviously, but that's like there was like a fuck ton of people that applied for coaching,
Yeah.
and but interestingly, I actually didn't know this until recently. That same article is, I think, number one or number two on Google for fat loss without any SEO or anything, just organic traffic. Yeah, so I just get tons of like organic traffic and opt-ins from the email list and stuff just from that article every month.
Yeah.
And then the 8 reasons you're not losing fat in a calorie deficit, that is, I think, number one as well on Google for like, if you search like I'm not losing fat in a calorie deficit, that comes up, or anything that is relating to a calorie deficit, that article tends to pop up. And again, that's no SEO. I haven't done any SEO on my website at all.
Yeah.
It's all just like organic traffic. So those two articles sort of have covered quite a large part of the market, because I realized when I was looking through Google, a lot of the searches people search for is fat loss or calorie deficit. So those two articles tend to pop up, which I get a ton of like organic coaching applications just through that. So yeah, that was, I would say, every time I post an article and it goes, has a lot of shares, a lot of likes, whatever the case is, I tend to see a strong correlation with like coaching applications as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, I guess, because more and more people are seeing it. So the reality is people are just going to, like, I guess, resonate with you and like your style of writing and what you're like. And they're probably like, yes, I want this guy to be my coach.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Because I mean, if you look on Google, no one else has the word motherfucker on their fat loss article. So automatically, what the hell is this guy about?
That's a good question as well, because I'd like to sort of ask, how do you try and bring your personality out in your writing? Like, do you just kind of, I guess think what you write and write it down immediately, or do you kind of put, I guess, the swear words in and your personality in with it after you've written it all out, or do you just kind of type and go?
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends. Like, sometimes I'll type in one go and it just sounds good and I'll keep it, and sometimes I feel like, because there's also an expectation of, especially with like Physiconomics and like my content, there tends to be there's a strong sort of connection to like swearing and like just being really outlandish and out there, which tends to sometimes dictate the way I write things. And sometimes I find myself saying something which I wouldn't really say, which isn't really me, but I'm also just doing it just to sort of play up this persona. So I will just turn it down a notch because it's not really me. But in terms of like your personality, I mean, yeah, again, it's just the way that I would say certain things. And like if I was having a conversation with a friend, I'll, just the same way that I would word it, obviously just written a bit better, or worded a bit better. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have like a framework for that. It's just, I just write things. And if it sounds like it's something that I'd say, I keep it in. If it's a bit too much and I feel like I'm playing up to just for the sake of it, then I'd either turn it down a notch or reword it. So it's different, it sounds more like me and not like this persona per se.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about sort of your social media and your different approaches to it, like versus your blog posts, because I've obviously been looking on your social media, and on Facebook you could write, I guess, something which is sort of 2 lines long and you'll get insane engagement from it where it just be something like calories suck, and then you'll get loads of comments, loads of likes. Yeah. And then obviously that's a total different approach to how you would do a blog post as such. So what kind of approaches do you have for, I guess, social media and a blog post? Like, do you take sort of kind of different routes on how you put the content across?
Yeah, for sure. So I just experiment with it. I don't really have like a framework, but I know Suk talks about this a lot, when he does his talks and, he does his PT stuff and online coaching stuff. He's like, it's social media, so be social. And don't just always try and sell to people. So with social media, I really just use it for like, especially Facebook. Instagram tends to be, I'm quite like sarcastic and facetious and a bit of a dick on Instagram as well. But even with Instagram, I tend to make it more informative. Whereas with Facebook, I will just write the most inane thing. Like sometimes I'll write like a 1-word sentence or 2 lines or whatever the case is, and then people just find it funny and they engage with it. That's just like me just sort of keeping in touch with the audience per se. So there's no really like no tactic. It's like whatever I want to write about. So sometimes I might use something so, banal like barbecue sauce over ketchup, and people just resonate with it because it's like, yeah, fuck ketchup. I love barbecue sauce. So I'll just, I'll write that. It was like I'm at the gym, like I remember a few months back or last year sometime, there was a guy who was eating Oreos in the gym, and I was like, this is amazing. This is this is motherfucker in the gym eating Oreos. So I just tagged that on my Facebook post because I was in the gym right there and then. I was like, I'm letting everyone know this, and everyone loved it. Like, I just had 300, 400 likes. I was like, wow, that's interesting. So now it's not like I don't have like super elaborate scheme. And sometimes like I will just write like a 1,000, 1,200 word post on Facebook just for jokes, right? Just to see what happens. But for the most part, I will just like use Facebook to, share blog posts or just to really, use it and to show people like, I'm just a normal person like you. And I do, I'm into the same sort of things that you might be into. And just share my thoughts. And, some people like that and some people disagree and hate me for it, but it's just me being me, to be honest. And that's just, I think the good thing with social media is it's a great way for you to be in front of your audience without like having to. So for example, like I could be working on a really long form blog post and I could take a snippet from that article as I'm working on it and post it to Facebook and see what sort of a response I get.
Yeah.
And then alternatively, if I have like an idea for a future article, I could take, say, the idea, write a very short post on Facebook and see what the reaction is like. And if it gets a good reaction, I'll go on and turn that into a full blog post. And sometimes it's just a case of like, I have an idea for an article, but it's not long enough, or there isn't enough substance for it to be a full, long form blog post. So I just post it on Facebook and that's it. And I'll send to the email list as well. So that's the way I use like social media and stuff. And again, like Suk says, I use social media to be social, not to sell anything. And also just to keep just to be sort of engaged with the audience, try and comment on every comment I get, or reply to every comment, like every comment, just small things like that makes people see that you're just a normal person and that you actually care and you're listening even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. And I guess you kind of just got to have fun with it in a way, because I was looking at your Instagram last night and I spent probably about 30 minutes just looking through all of your illustrations and the pictures and like the content on it, and it was great. Like it was just, even though like the actual caption, it was, I don't know, it was like an emoji of like a dinosaur. The picture itself was, I guess, so engaging, and it did bring out a lot about yourself as well. Like those illustrations, do you make them yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been illustrating since I was a little kid.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, just whatever. I mean, the same thing, even with like writing, like I've been writing stories and stuff, and and reading and drawing. Like that was my sort of big thing when I was a kid, like growing up. And then obviously, as I started to get older, I was like, this is stupid, whatever, forget this. And then it was only actually recently, I think a year ago, that I started to incorporate a lot of the illustrations back on, like with Instagram, and to actually make that like a really focal point of even content creation. Like some articles, I don't want to just write about it. I want to actually just make like an illustrated post. So yeah. I'll just turn the whole every point that I want to make, I'll turn the entire post into just like an illustrated post. And yeah, so all the illustrations are by myself, and all the writing, all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. No, that's cool, because they do look really, really good, and there's a lot of, I guess, like the calorie versus calorie illustrations out on Instagram right now, and like, just if you go on Adam's Instagram profile, they're not like that. They're really well put together, and they're really well done actually. So I guess that's kind of the different market side that you've got on Instagram with those illustrations, that there's not a lot of people doing them.
Yeah, but it's not even just that. It's also just the fact that, I mean, I didn't actually use it. It's only recently that I've started to use Instagram properly. Like Facebook's always been my first love, in terms of the fact that it's a lot more native to what I like to do in terms of like writing and illustrating and stuff. So it's just a lot more friendlier to that aspect of it. But Instagram, I've only been using Instagram properly, I'd say, for 10 months now.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not that long. I mean, if you go back and scroll back, you'll see there's like a massive gap from 2014, 2015 and it's just a bunch of shit content that I was just like posting for jokes. But then only recently when I started, illustrating, I think it was just like off the cuff. I was like, let me just see what happens. And I created an illustrated post, which did really well. And then I just sort of continued doing it. And then I was still a bit dubious about the illustrations. I was like, I'm not sure if this is going to do well, in a industry now that's quite science heavy. I wasn't sure how, like humor and sarcasm would, and like illustrations even would play out. But thankfully it's done well and people enjoy it. So I'll just continue doing that now.
Keep doing the stuff that works. That's the thing. So in terms of like coming up with ideas for content, are you more of like an off the cuff kind of person, or do you sort of have a way of coming up with ideas? Because I know over here in OFB we've got it's something called the content twister. So basically we write down like a series of ideas, and then we have, I guess, sub ideas which come off of it as well. Is that something similar to what you do, or do you just sort of, I guess?
Oh, no, I mean, I don't do it. I know there's a lot of people that like plan content out meticulously for like months and the whole year even, but I don't do that. I mean, I'll just have Evernote on my phone, and I have like a folder where I keep any ideas I have. So I could be out with my girlfriend, I could be like at the gym or anywhere, I could be reading or whatever the case is, and an idea will pop into my head and I'll just write it down into Evernote. And then I will, when I sit down, and if it's an idea that I feel like I really feel excited about, I will sit down and just expand on it. But yeah, I don't do none of that meticulous planning out content. I just kind of just do it off the cuff. And this is why sometimes I won't post for like 3-4 months and then post a shit ton of content.
Yeah. So you'll just, I guess, like in your notes, listen to what people are saying in the street and then turn that into an article.
Yeah, that's literally, I mean, I'll hear some stuff like in the men's changing room, like some guys will be talking about certain things. I'll be like, this is fucking stupid, but it's great content, so I'm going to write about it.
Yeah.
And then, and then it becomes like a post or something.
So there's always something, I guess, from your notes, like, which you can then, I guess, turn into something. And like you said, if you get to that point where, I guess, your article, like, you haven't put one out for a while, how will you then do that? Like, if you know that, I guess it's probably time to bring out an article, will you force yourself to like bring something out, or will you just wait until something brilliant comes in and then just start writing?
Oh no! I mean, I do sort of like to produce at least one blog post a month. So because I'm quite a perfectionist, I know that if I don't set some sort of a deadline, I just won't ever produce anything.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like emails, for example, I give myself like a deadline of you have to email at least once a week. So this way, it's like I know that at least once a week, but ideally I'd do it like twice a week. So I know every Monday and every Thursday I send out an email.
Yeah.
So when Monday rolls around, I will just go into my Evernote, see a post that I feel like would be interesting, or alternatively, I get tons of emails from people who ask me questions. So I'll make a note of those questions as well and save them all into my Evernote. And if I'm wanting to send an email out, I'll just go into my Evernote or the questions that I've been asked and just turn that into a short email. And then, but at the same time, even I always have like ideas going on. So I'm always planning something, or I think, this month I want to write about this. And then all the research and stuff that goes alongside that will start to happen, and I'll slowly start to, create the post, wherever that post may be. So I do like to set myself some deadline. I'm not super strict with sticking to it. But ideally, with emails, it's like once, twice a week. Instagram, it's like whenever. And with Facebook, again, it's just off the cuff. It's like whatever. But with my blog, it's like at least once a month. That has always happened, because sometimes you start creating something and then it turns into like a beast of its own, and you end up doing more research and it becomes a longer post. So, but at a minimum, just having some sort of an idea, I like at least once a month, I think is a good amount of time for me to create something that I'm happy with and that people will enjoy.
Yeah, no, people look forward to it as well, because I guess if they've waited a month, then it's a case of, they'll really look forward to opening that email, kind of like we were talking about earlier. In regards to the emails, so you're obviously saying you're doing like 1 to 2 a week at the minute. Do you ever did you sell in those emails, or are you just strictly content, and then you kind of just, I guess, see if sales come off the back of it, if people want to join up?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely sell, but it's not like a constant thing. It's not like, I know some fitness professionals, some people even in the marketing world are just like every email is some sort of sales pitch.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of. For me, I prefer the Gary Vaynerchuk method of the jab, 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 right hook. So you just give people a fuck ton of value for like 3, 4, 5 months, and then you pitch them and just repeat that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just the way I do it.
No, that's a good way to do it. That's actually been mentioned a fair few times on the podcast now, and it seems to be like a recurring theme with a lot of successful trainers is just not to constantly sell, which a lot of people do now, and I think it kind of gets away from the whole point of being a trainer, putting out quality content and then I guess capitalizing on it over time instead of just constantly selling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So a question about content again, like, do you find it harder to put out content now to when you started? I'm guessing like the reason why I'm asking is because more and more now, obviously, as like calories, keto diets, they obviously they become more learnt about, more popular. Do you find it obviously harder to put that content out now rather than when you started?
Oh no, I mean it's the same thing with everything, right? Because like when I started, or when anyone else started, there's always been the same topics been spoken about for the last 10, 50, 100 years, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
So it's not so much about finding it hard to create certain content, or finding it hard to put out content. It's more, the hard part is how can I create something which is different to what everyone else is putting out currently, or is entertaining, or it's just written or illustrated in a way which no one else is doing, so that it takes a topic which has probably been beaten to death, but you sort of put a fresh twist on it. And that's the way. That's the harder part for me, which is why I don't publish all the time, because I'd rather take some time to really think about how to make something unique. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like, is it harder to put content out or talk about certain things? No, I just find that it's a lot harder to come up with new and different creative ways to speak about old topics in a new way that is appealing to people.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, like, obviously now, as more than ever, more and more people talk about, I guess, the topics as trainers do talk about. So like you said, it is obviously a bit harder because people are obviously putting out that content. So you've just got to put your own twist on it, really.
Right, but see, going back to that as well, going back to Instagram, like if you were to go onto Instagram right now and you went onto like, the what's that? Where you search different people and stuff, and it comes up like a ton.
The explore feature.
That's the one. So if you go into explore tab, if you look at most of the fitness content, it looks exactly the same. It's just like a emoji with a cross and a tick, and it's like you don't really know who's creating the content.
Yeah.
It's just everything looks the same. So if you're just doing what everyone else is doing, then sure, because and the thing with that is that people have sort of created like a false audience, because people think that because if you post like a calorie comparison thing and then you just hashtag the shit out of it, you just get a ton of followers because people are just following you because it's just a common thing to do. But it's like, but you have to also understand, it's like, is that really an audience that is going to buy from you, or is they actually give a fuck about what you have to say? Because if your content looks exactly the same as like 1,000 other trainers, there's no differentiator. So this is why it's harder now, because if I want to, this is why I don't create like calorie comparison posts or anything like that stuff, because there's just everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So and if you want to stand out, especially on like Instagram and stuff, you want to create content that looks different, so that people actually follow you for that content, not just because it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, another calorie comparison post, I'll just follow this person as well.
Yeah, they know what their order is when they get to Starbucks because of the calorie comparison post on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice, I guess. Just be yourself, and like don't try and follow the herd, I guess.
Exactly.
Obviously, like in terms of for people who are starting to put out content, I myself, like when I first started as a trainer, I'm not afraid to admit I was a bit afraid of putting it out. I didn't want to spend, I guess, half an hour writing an email to find that just no one commented, or like, I guess you got a bit of hate from it as well. So what advice would you give to people who are afraid of putting out content?
So then, like, the thing with that is then what's the alternative? You don't put out content, and then you don't share your message with people, because you're afraid that someone's going to say something about it, or you won't get any likes on it, whatever the case is. It's just like, what's the alternative? And the alternative is then right, exactly. It's like, the alternative is to like not do anything then, which is not productive anyway. And I mean, everyone goes through the same things. Like with the algorithm changes in Facebook and Instagram, like a year ago, a lot of my content had tons more engagement. It had far more reach. And now, relatively speaking, it gets a lot less reach than what it used to. So based on that, I could easily be like, well, there's no point because Facebook is just killing the algorithm and not creating content, which is obviously not the right attitude to have. So it's one of the things where it's like, there is really no alternative. If you are serious about putting content out there, you just have to do, it's like, what we say to our clients, like some client might just be anxious about starting a diet or anxious about starting a training program or even going to the gym because they're afraid of what people will think about them. And as a trainer, your advice is exactly the same thing. Like, if your goal is to change your body, or whatever the case is, you just have to face those fears and you have to put that content out there. And one thing that I realized is that our perception of what we think will happen is a lot worse than what actually happens. Yeah. So you might put something out there and in your head, you're like, fuck, people are going to hate it. They're going to think I'm an idiot. They're going to send me hate mail. And then you post it and you get a few likes and people are like, hey, I really enjoyed this. And it's never as worse as what you thought it'd be.
No, yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Cause I think must have been 2 weeks ago now. I put up my first proper vlog. It's something I really wanted to get into because I'm currently on a contest prep at the minute. And I wanted to, I guess, vlog my prep all the way through to the end, just so people can see what it's like. And I was nervous as hell. I was like, oh, what if everybody hates this? They might think it's shit. And then the day I put it out, I started getting loads of nice comments from people, and it was really positive. So all of that worrying about whether it was going to be good enough, I think you just got to do it. It's just like write an email, write an article, film a blog post, film a vlog. Just do it.
And I mean, if it makes anyone feel better, some of the stuff that I write about, it tends to really piss people off. I will tell people to stop fucking around and shit up to their face, on Facebook and stuff. So, and most people aren't as in your face and sort of domineering about it, which is, and I don't get that much hate from people anyway. People really enjoy it, they laugh about it, and you get the few people are just like, oh, you're an idiot, you're an arsehole. It's like, okay, cool, well, just fucking unfollow me then. But trust me, it's what I say to people. It's like, I do that stuff, and I'm still alive. No one's sent a assassin to kill me or anything. So you'll be fine. Trust me. If you're just putting out content, you're putting out blogs, you'll be fine. Just do the fucking thing, man.
Yeah, just do it. Just do the fucking thing.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of move away from the content side of things and ask more about how you coach. Talk about your subscription site as well. In terms of what you do for coaching right now, what does your package look like? Are you month to month? Do you do 8-week coaching packages, or is it just kind of a rolling thing?
Yeah, so with the coaching, there's just two options. There's a month to month option, and there's a 16-week package.
Yeah, I
just personally find that giving people too many options just causes sort of paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
So you just cut the options down, and you just give them two options. This is the price for the month to month. If you want to go for a month to month, explain what the benefits are of the month to month. Or alternatively, if you want to pay in full, you get a small discount. And this is why, why if you're someone who likes to commit to something because you find that helps you with motivation, then go for the 16-week package. You get a small discount, and then you paid for your coaching advance. If you're someone who is a bit afraid of a commitment and you just want to see how things go, then go for a monthly package. And that's just two options that I have when it comes to coaching, because I find that, because back in the day I used to have tons of options, and it was just, it's like when you go to a restaurant and it's a million food items, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go with what I usually get. So we're just giving people two options. It's this is what you get for month to month, this is what you get for a 16-week. Take your pick. It just tends to help a lot more.
Yeah, no, that's good. I've never heard of the 16-week. I guess what it does is it still allows that long-term package to get results as well, because I see a lot of people, obviously, they offer the 8-week packages, and I guess in that kind of short term, it can be difficult to really maximize the results that they're getting from it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of short-term packages, just because of the fact that I say to them, look, there's 4 months because it takes around that time for you to see a significant change, but also it's going to take that much time for you to get comfortable with, getting into the gym and learning new habits and all, learning, even if you've never tracked your calories before, learning how MyFitnessPal works, or how, weighing your food and all this stuff takes time. So that's why it's at least a 4-month package where it gives you enough time to learn new habits, change your body and, become a better person overall.
Yeah, they allow for screw ups as well because they do
Yeah,
happen.
that's exactly it. Because it's like if you give someone an 8 week, package, or someone buys like 8 week package, they're inevitably going to fuck up a few times during that time period, and it's like it just messes with your like testimonials. You might be an awesome coach, but it's just that you haven't given yourself enough time, not so much the client. But if you say to someone, look, it's 4 months, and it's also, I think personally for me, it's more of like a psychological thing. Like, listen, are you in or you out? Like, I'm not here to fuck around. You've got 4 months. Let's commit to this. Get your ass in gear and get you the body that you want, basically. As opposed to like 8 weeks where it's like, okay, yeah, well, we'll just do 8 weeks to see how you feel. And it's like 8 weeks go past and the client's like, I haven't seen any results. You suck.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I currently do a 6 week package, but it's something I'm going to move away from when the next one finishes. I mean, people they still get awesome results, but I guess I just want that longer term phase so people can get even better results, because in 6 weeks it's very hard to turn over however much in fat loss than what they're probably looking for, especially when people come to you they're already on low calories anyway.
Exactly.
So it's very hard to dig when someone comes to you on 2,000 calories. It's just like, this is not going to be fast, but we can still get your results. But
and I think it's also the fact that it's not for everyone, but sometimes it's like if you have a client who's like super like anxious and it's like, I'm not losing weight, sends you like 5 emails a day, whatever the case is. In 6 weeks' time, because they haven't been following the plan or whatever the case is, it doesn't give you that much time to get results with that person, basically. And also then what happens also is like if someone comes to you and like, I need to lose X amount of fat in 6 weeks, as a coach, there's always that temptation to, cut the calories a bit more than what they need to, make them do a bit more cardio because you're sticking to a very like short time period. Whereas if you give them a longer time frame, if that's like 12 weeks or 16 weeks or, even like 20 weeks, whatever the case is, you're able to, have the calories a tad bit higher so they're not so overwhelmed, and you can ease them into it. So that's another thing with that.
Yeah, no, it's a good piece of coaching advice. I think a lot of people, obviously, like I say, they fall into the trap with 6 weeks and like the client coming to you as well. They probably assume I'll get my dream body in 6 weeks, when the reality is it's going to take a lot longer than that.
And that's another big thing, because like with anything that I write, I always say to people, look, it's going to take time. Like this shit takes time. And so I feel like if you're selling someone like a 6 to 8 week program, it tends to, because if you're a coach or like an authority figure in that realm, so if it's like fat loss, whatever the case is. And so if you say to someone, even if you haven't explicitly said it, they will subconsciously think that you're implying that they can get their body within 6 to 8 weeks. So then they have like a false expectation from the start. So at the end of the 6 weeks, they might come to you and be like, hey, I don't look like how I want to look. And you're like, yeah, because it takes time. And so it gets a bit mucky. But with a longer time frame, it just makes it easier for both you mentally and the client, just to set some realistic expectations of what they can expect.
Yeah, no, that's a great piece of advice. And in terms of your other package, obviously you've got a subscription site. Is that mainly aimed at sort of trainers, or is that aimed at obviously just general population as well? What's actually involved with the subscription site?
So the subscription site is actually I haven't really given it that much love and attention right now. I set it up last year and I haven't really done much to it.
Okay.
So I create sort of exclusive content for subscribing members. It's not aimed at trainers. It's just aimed at the general population. So it's just content which I don't publish anywhere else. So it could be like monthly Q&As, exclusive articles that I don't publish anywhere else, audio readings of all my articles that I publish. So just like small things like that, and exercise library, etc. So, but I'm sort of working on revamping that and having that more like just a lot more stuff in there.
Yeah.
But that's like people are still signing up. I'm still publishing content to it, but there's more that I can do to it. And it was just one of those things where I sort of dived into the membership site without having a better expectation of how much work would be required to have it up to par, to a standard that I would be happy with. And for that reason, I sort of just neglected it a little bit over the last year. So I'm currently working on revamping the entire thing and putting a lot more content on there, from like form videos, just a ton of different content that's going to be going on there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like more videos and just, I guess, doing more and revamping the whole thing.
Yeah, so more videos, more podcasts and audio content, and like um, sort of like more the exclusive articles will still continue, but also uploading sort of like training programs that people download.
Okay, yeah,
So
cool.
like rates, like fat loss challenges, so people can download like a 12-week fat loss challenge, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
More monthly sort of like Facebook lives with like Q&A and stuff. So there's more things like that which I'm looking to make. So it becomes more like a product as opposed to being like a membership site. It's more like it's like kind of think of the way that I'm sort of thinking about it, or the way I describe it, is kind of like Netflix for fitness.
Yeah.
So when you go onto Netflix, you have like a ton of different content from different genres that you can watch, and it's relatively cheap, like £10 a month. So that's the sort of angle that the membership site will be going down, where it'll be a lot cheaper than a lot of the other fitness membership sites that are out there right now, but just giving them a ton more value and a ton more content than what anyone else is providing.
Yeah, no, that sounds actually really good, because there's not a lot of people doing that at the minute, especially the training programs as well, because obviously most of the time you'll sign up to a membership site, you'll get the Q&As, you'll get the videos on certain topics, but there's never anything like, I guess, sample training programs like you've mentioned, so that should be really, really cool actually.
Yeah, so it's a ton of stuff that I'm looking to do with that. So that's what we're going to be working on. So essentially it'll be like, you have like a hub where people can just sign up, and every month there's like new challenges uploaded, new training programs people download. Like if someone wants to do like a fat loss, summer shredder, whatever the case is, they can download that program, do it themselves. So yeah, that's obviously it's a work in progress right now, and I'm still talking through different parts and what I want on there, what I don't want on there. So yeah, that's take some time.
That'll be awesome when it's released. Yeah, I look forward to it. So that should be really good. So apart from the members site, what else are you looking to obviously improve on Physiconomics over the coming years?
Man, just continue creating content,
yeah.
And just helping as many people as I can. But I don't think that far ahead. I know people have like these elaborate plans and everything.
Yeah.
So I always feel like I hate, because I obviously have a lot of friends who are in the industry, and they always talk about all these plans that you have, and like they're planning out, they're like 6, 8, 12 months. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'll just go back and create some shit for Instagram.
Yeah, that's the same as me. I kind of just, I guess, take it each week as it comes, and just keep improving in that way. So yeah, just keep putting out more articles and the members site, and that's obviously the plan right now for yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, awesome, cool. So obviously I don't want to keep you for too long, but where can the listeners find out more about you, Adam?
So if anyone gives a fuck, they can find me on physiconomics.com, which is obviously my main website, Instagram and Facebook at Physiconomics, which is the two social media platforms that I predominantly use.
Okay, brilliant. That's cool. So also as well, in the show notes, anyone listening, we will have all of Adam's details in the comments and the actual show notes as well, with links to his Instagram and Facebook. So if you want to find more about Adam, I would definitely recommend you get on his email list as well. Not to copy his content, but just to see what it's like, because it's amazing. And you've obviously got free downloads as well, ebooks and stuff as well, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, so there's like, I think a couple of free downloads, and then there's like an email course as well. So yeah, just opt into everything and see how I do shit, and then use that as inspiration if you want.
Amazing, awesome. So it's been absolutely epic having you on the podcast today. I've learned tons. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the listeners have as well. So I really do appreciate you coming on, Adam.
No worries, man. Thank you for having me on.
Right, guys, so that concludes the 6th episode of the Online Trainer Show, and we'll be back very soon for the next episode, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers, guys.